Welcome one and all to the very first episode of the Tarantino Dissections, brought to you in part through the patronage of Ariya Norinth, supporting Drunk on Writing at the newly renamed connoisseur level. And a special shout out to very new patron Michael V. Brown, who actually signed up before the Shawshank Redemption dissection was released, but after I had already filmed it. So welcome, Mike. Thank you for supporting the channel, for supporting Drunk on Writing. Before we get started today, you might be wondering, what exactly are the Tarantino dissections? Well, as we do in the other Drunk on Writing dissection series, and so far we have a Stephen King series and then just a kind of catch-all series, here we'll be digging into the creation, the production, the reception, and the reviews of Quentin Tarantino's filmography. Whether that means something that he directed, something he wrote, something he acted in, or something he maybe produced. It's kind of a catch-all here, and we're not going to hold any bars. If you enjoy this episode, if you enjoy this series, please be sure to head on over to drunkonwriting.com and sign up there to become a patron. It helps the channel grow. It helps you because you get to pick the content. You get to become part of the content. You get to ask questions, you get exclusive content, exclusive videos, exclusive scripts, all sorts of fun goodies. So be sure to head on over there and, check it out. But I don't want to talk about that anymore because right now I'm here to talk about Quentin Tarantino. But why Quentin Tarantino? What makes him so special? Well, one, you voted on this. You obviously want to see this. But two, It's not that he's akin to Stephen King, which he is in a lot of ways. They both have a very particular style. They both know how to sell that style, and they're both very much living through their craft. They're presenting themselves through their craft and seemingly having fun at the same time. But no, it's not that. And to be honest, I don't really know what makes Quentin Tarantino so Quentin Tarantino. I think maybe only his shrink does. But whatever it is, I don't know if I'm not even going to speculate there. But, whether he's wearing his director's hat, his writer's hat, his production hat, or even his acting hat, he brings a sort of kinetic energy to the screen that a lot of other people are missing. And he has a very certain sense of artistic integrity. There are a handful of directors that I can name right off the bat that have very, not similar styles, but have similar strengths, and that they present things as they want them to be seen. Wes Anderson is one that comes immediately to mind. But it's really, it's in the way he talks. It's in the way he writes, the way he draws from his actors. He does bring that energy to the screen. It's I was gonna say this before, but it keeps coming to mind. It's as if they're all on like cocaine or something. Now I'm not saying that they are, although it would explain a few scenes from a few movies.
Jesus Christ! Do I get anything in my nose? Not right here.
But I think I doubt that. I don't know. Let's move on. Now, a few background notes on Tarantino. He was born in Knoxville, Tennessee, and named after Burt Reynolds' character Quint from Gunsmoke, which I didn't know Burt Reynolds was in Gunsmoke, but okay. After his parents' divorce, he and his mom moved to the LA area, and Tarantino basically never left. Basically. At 14, he wrote a screenplay called Captain Peach Fuzz and the Anchovy Bandit, based on Smokey and the Bandit, with undoubtedly a touch of Rocky and Bullwinkle given the title character, but given up after about 20 pages, as you do. Interesting thing there, a second Burt Reynolds reference, a second Burt Reynolds connection, but there will be more that pop up, and we will touch on those a bit down the road. Now, at 15, he dropped out of high school and started working as an usher at the Pussycat Theater. You can pretty much imagine what went on there. He also began taking acting classes at the James Best Theater Company, which was upstairs in the Honey Baked Ham building. At 22, he started working at Video Archives, basically a local blockbuster, so you can kind of see how that wound up. But this is where Tarantino really started to pack in the film knowledge because he watched everything that he could get his hands on. And during this time, he started contributing to and writing more screenplays, including one that he billed as a straight 70s blaxploitation action movie. Interesting, given some of his later movies would really delve into the blaxploitation topic, but we'll get there down the line. But he also worked on another one called Lovebird in Bondage with his fellow Video Archives employee Scott McGill. And yet another screenplay with fellow James Best attendee Craig Hammond entitled Criminal Mind. Now, when that went nowhere between 1984 and 1987, basically whenever they had enough money, enough time, enough friends, and the desire to do it, Tarantino and Hammond, who had already at this point written about a 30 to 40 page script, started filming a movie. Now, Tarantino would come in and help expand the script out to about 100 pages or so. And this little nugget of a film would turn out to be Tarantino's directorial debut, My Best Friend's Birthday, the title of which inspired today's vodka pairing. Yeah, I haven't had a vodka pairing yet in any of the dissections, but I felt this one was rather appropriate. Pinnacle Vodka, cake. Yeah, cake. And I have to say, as I always do with all the dissections, I typically try a sip beforehand so I'm not just punched in the face with some kind of flavor. I tried a little bit of this. So first off, you smell the cake. It smells kind of like a vanilla cake here. It's nice and it's got like a sweet kind of syrupy flavor to it. But it's perfectly clear, as you would expect from a vodka. And you sip this. This stuff is dangerous. It tastes just like a cake. There is no bite. There is no bad aftertaste. There's nothing. Like, I could just sit here and drink this all night long. I'm not going to, because I think this would give me the worst headache I could possibly imagine. This is so sweet, and it would probably destroy me in the morning. But this stuff is very, very good, and this was a really good decision to pair with this movie. I highly, highly recommend trying this at some point, especially if you have a nice party, nice birthday party coming up, and get a good couple of friends around and try this out. Yeah, this is tasty. One that I think you should try. But did I say directorial debut back there? Wasn't Reservoir Dogs his first film? Isn't that how we're supposed to be getting to the much hyped 10 films? Well, yes and no. My Best Friend's Birthday isn't... Well, okay, so it is a gritty, black and white origin of sorts for everything we'd see from Tarantino going forward. And as it stands, this is an incomplete origin, one that's never actually been released, officially, anyway. I think it's helpful to really consider My Best Friend's Birthday as movie zero, or as Tarantino himself put it, his film school. However you want to put it, though, it's definitely worth talking about. Now, My Best Friend's Birthday had an estimated budget of only about $5,000. Still, not a chump amount of change back then. And it was filmed on a 16mm Eclair, or Eclair, I don't know. Imagine the sort of camera the Rebels might have used in the original Star Wars films. They used that strapped to a car battery. Yeah, they're making it work. But as with many a student film, which this absolutely definitely was, My Best Friend's Birthday starred Tarantino himself as Clarence Poole. I mean, it makes sense, right? After all, at this point, he's an aspiring actor. He's going to acting school to try to better his craft. So it makes sense to cast himself, to put himself in front of the camera. But this would also go ahead and inspire his casting choices for his later movies, right? We'll talk about those down the line. His co-writer, Hammond, he also starred in the movie as the titular birthday boy and best friend, Mickey Burnett. Wait a minute. Those names, Clarence and Mickey, they sound familiar at all to you? That's maybe because Christian Slater's character in the Tarantino-penned True Romance is named, yeah, you bet, Clarence. And Mickey? Natural-born killer's Woody Harrelson. Yeah, Tarantino wrote that one too. But more on both of those in the very next episode of the Tarantino Dissections. For now, there was a lot in those later films, not just Natural Born Killers and True Romance, but in Tarantino's actual directed movies that was foreshadowed here in My Best Friend's Birthday. But we'll get to all that in a moment. Back to what I was saying, though. The film also stars Crystal Shaw as Misty, Alan Garfield, who was Tarantino's acting coach at the time as the entertainment magnate, Al Harrell as Clifford, that's a hell of a role, Linda Kay as Pandora, Roland Wofford as Lenny Otis, Rich Turner as Oliver Brandon, and Alan Sanborn as Nutmeg, a.k.a. Clancy, a.k.a. the guy who gives Clarence the itching powder. And if we want to really take a look at the plot, it's relatively easy to break down. In short, My Best Friend's Birthday revolves around Clarence hiring call girl Misty Knight, who is not a whore, as she reaffirms several times, to show Mickey a good time after his ex-girlfriend somehow manages to dump him again on not technically his birthday, but the day before. Hijinks, as they say, ensue. It's really a comedy of errors more than anything else. Something akin to Shakespeare's Much Ado About Nothing in many ways. Now, you can, and I hope you have if you're already watching this dissection, you can go and watch what exists, what still exists, or maybe whatever existed of My Best Friend's Birthday on YouTube right now. It's only about 30 minutes long, and I'll include a link below. But, quick sidebar on that, on what I just said. The general assessment is that the film's latter half was lost in a lab fire. However, one of the film's 4 cinematographers, Roger Avery, who would also work with Tarantino on Reservoir Dogs and Pulp Fiction, he claims, contrary to legend, the rest of the film was not lost in a lab fire. It was simply never finished due to loss of steam. I'd say this is corroborated by the script, which again you can find freely on the internet, but I will include a link below. But if you look at that, if you read it, and I did, what exists today is a large portion of the film, with a few scenes here and there from the beginning onward seemingly missing. Maybe even never shot? So the running out of steam notion, as someone who's recorded and filmed several unfinished, unedited, and unreleased films, I get it. I really do. But, it really is a shame because having read that script, the ending sounds really, really cool. Basically, it's sort of this all-out brawl between all of the main characters. They all end up back at the apartment, and weird things happen. Like the 4 main characters end up in a shower all together, partly dressed. Mickey's fully naked. Then there's like a fight. All the guys end up knocked out on the floor. The women leave to go get a drink. Then the guys pick themselves up and they're like, well, you know what? Why don't we all get a drink too? And pretty much after that, it's sort of a happy ending for everyone except Mickey. It's a little unfortunate, but it makes for a funny ending. But either way, I really liked it. But maybe it's for the best, because if you have watched the footage, then you already know that the editing and the sound mixing is rough at best. The acting is pretty much about the same. And while there are a few great shots, including a cool pivot pan, It's not altogether a technical powerhouse, but the writing, the dialogue, the foot fetish,
Yeah, but I have a foot fetish, so it kind of evened itself out.
legit Tarantino. And more so than any other Tarantino film, this one is hilarious, especially toward the beginning of the film. And this might be Hammond's influence. You know, he wrote the original script and Tarantino came in and expanded it. So this may be his influence on it coming in to really make it funny, but it reads very much like a Tarantino. Like, for instance, at the beginning, we have the suicidal 3-year-old anecdote.
Now, for a 3-year-old to be thinking like that, that's really depressing. You know what saved me? Was the Partridge Family.
And perhaps my favorite, and I'm going to try to say this with as straight a face as possible, and an understandable reaction to snorting. Yes, snorting itching powder.
Oh, Cochran out. I am in hell! Oh.
There's also that very beautiful Karate Kid homage. Which, along with a few other scenes, really kind of acts as a precursor to Tarantino's love of Kung Fu, which would really be prominent, you know, in the Kill Bill film, or, you know, 2 films, however you want to look at it. But we also get an Elvis Presley monologue that be sort of repurposed in True Romance.
I always said, you know, if ever I had a guy, I mean, had to because, like, my life depended on it, I'd Elvis.
And the simplest, most romanticized reason to become a call girl ever.
What part did she play in that film? A call girl. That's what part she played. She was cool. She was together. Okay, I looked at that film and I looked at her part and I said to myself, Louise, that's the job for you.
Plus, there are one-liners like,
go straight through, go you see, no escape, go on our face.
And,
What you have on's fine.
And of course,
your ass is grass and I'm the lawnmower.
You can see Tarantino's love of pop culture throughout pretty much all of those examples I just cited. And it's very prominent throughout the rest of the film as well, especially within scenes set in Clarence's Easter egg-filled apartment. Though that could have just been a byproduct of having somewhat contemporary movie posters, such as For the Evil That Men Do, Squirm, and Little Cigars, readily available at video archives. Another Tarantino staple introduced here in this so-called student film, the exceptional use of music. And I'm sure that it wasn't licensed at this point. You know, it's not like we're putting it up in the cinema. They probably just played their record players at this part. But we had Johnny Cash's I Walk the Line, Sweets' The Ballroom Blitz, Elvis Presley's Are You Lonesome Tonight, and my personal favorite, a song that I immediately latched onto, Right Now by The Creatures, a song I had never even heard before, and which pops up during and works to sort of offset the Mickey Clifford tussle.
Right now, let me take you by the hand.
And the use of music, the eclectic nature of the soundtrack, it's built right into the movie. I mean, the main character, Clarence, is a DJ. He's the original hillbilly cat who plays non-stop rockabilly for you right out there. And for K-Billy, no less. A made-up station that'd go on to play something of an important role in the Reservoir Dogs story and soundtrack.
K-Billy's Super Sounds of the 70s continues.
And that's just the start of the connections between this and Tarantino's later films. You know, just in terms of cast here, Steve O'Polly, well, I don't know if I'm saying that right, who played simply DJ here, he also briefly showed up in Reservoir Dogs as Sheriff Number 4 and both volumes of Kill Bill as Tim. Brenda Hillhouse, again, simply known as Wife here, would go on to appear in Pulp Fiction as Butch's mom. Rich Turner would also appear there as Sportscaster Number 2.
Coolidge was out of there faster than I've ever seen a victorious boxer leave the ring.
And in Reservoir Dogs as Sheriff Number 1, while while Linda Kay was there as Shocked Woman and in Pulp Fiction as Shot Lady. But outside the general craftsmanship, some lifted dialogue, and the recurring cast, some of the ideas from My Best Friend's Birthday wound up in some of the later films. Speaking of Pulp Fiction, for instance, one of Misty's poses very clearly inspired Uma Thurman's look on the official poster for the later film. She was also named Misty Knight. Quite a clear reference to the Marvel blaxploitation era character, but we're going to kind of sidestep that so Marvel's lawyers don't go after Tarantino. We don't want that. We want them to hire him, not sue him. Okay, we good here? Yeah. Blaxploitation, after all, would be something, as I mentioned earlier, of a popular theme throughout Tarantino's career. I don't really want to say popular, but kind of was. There's also a clear through line here to Inglourious Bastards, which features Brad Pitt's Lieutenant Aldo Rain. Clarence name drops an Aldo Ray.
Oh yeah, who are you expecting? Aldo Ray?
So yes, My Best Friend's Birthday, an origin story of sorts for quite a lot of future Tarantino. Tarantino that we're really going to start digging into in the very next episode. This one, something of an introductory episode looking at, just this little short. But the importance of My Best Friend's Birthday really shouldn't be understated, and not necessarily just for Tarantino and his career. As Cameron Bell put it for the director series in the entry on this film, Tarantino is the first mainstream instance of a director who learned his craft by simply studying films themselves. He represents filmmaking's most fundamental ideal, the notion that anyone, regardless of who they are or where they come from, can make it in movies if they try hard enough. Any producer's son can nepotism his way into the director's chair, but for the scrawny teenager in Wyoming with a video camera in her hand and stars in her eyes, Tarantino is proof positive that she could do it too. At least, that's the hope, right? And, maybe without the foot fetish? Maybe? This has been the Drunk on Riding dissection of Quentin Tarantino's My Best Friend's Birthday. If you enjoyed this, please be sure to check out drunkonriding.com. A lot of exclusive videos, a lot of exclusive content. I think you'll like it. Go over there, vote for what you want to see next month. What do you want to see in the coming months? Become part of the show. Contribute your thoughts and opinions on Tarantino's there. Everything, whatever you want to do, I will build it in here because, I love my patrons. And I love my viewers, so thank you for watching. Speaking of, though, next time, a split script, more screenplays, and maybe an acting credit or two. We'll see. Until then, cheers. I'm going to finish off this shot because it's good stuff. And keep on riding.